Beneath the tranquil shores of a coastal village on the Bay of Bengal, India is building a multi-billion-dollar base. Designed to protect India's growing fleet of nuclear submarines in a key area of the Indian Ocean, the new base, INS Varsha, has a secret design feature.
Its location essentially allows for the underground docking of submarines.
Here is why this project forms the backbone of India's plans to keep China's ambitions in the region in check. The Bay of Bengal lies north of critical shipping lanes that carry around 30% of all globally traded goods towards this narrow waterway known as the Strait of Malacca. And around 80% of China's oil imports pass through this critical choke point.
The Strait of Malacca can be controlled by a number of powers which China might possibly find itself in conflict with. First and foremost, the United States Navy, but also secondly, the Indian Navy.
Some China experts believe the waterway could play a key role in any conflict over Taiwan or the South China Sea.
One of the ways in which China has tried to reduce its perceived vulnerabilities in this space is by building a growing naval presence in the northern Indian Ocean.
Over the years, China has been building and investing in commercial ports in Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka through its Belt and Road Initiative. The infrastructure project Beijing has been promoting since 2013 in more than 150 countries. Chinese vessels, including those belonging to the People's Liberation Army or PLA, are now frequently spotted in these ports. Like these two landing ships and a guided missile destroyer that visited Sri Lanka's port in late August and docked just 4,000 feet away from the Indian guided missile destroyer INS Mumbai.
These vessels have habituated states within the region to the idea of a Chinese naval presence.
Beijing has also helped Bangladesh to build the country's first ever full-fledged submarine base. The BNS Sheikh Hasina Naval Base is still under construction but was inaugurated in 2023. And at least one of Bangladesh's first two submarines, also made in China, appears to already be stationed there.
What China's investment in both civilian ports but also military facilities can do is create access points which the PLA can rely on for more routine sustainment, which in turn can allow it to embark on more prolonged deployments in the Indian Ocean region.
Satellite images showing the expansion of INS Varsha reveal India's efforts to counterbalance China's growing presence in its own backyard.
The most important part of the base will be the underground facilities, within which Indian submarines can dock towards the right-hand side of the photo. The ability to build tunnels offers advantage both in terms of hardening but also protection against the adversary surveillance.
And its location on the Bay of Bengal itself offers significant tactical advantages for India.
Its relatively closeness to a number of Indian air bases, its area in which Indian Navy enjoys considerably local superiority over the People's Liberation Army and Navy, and it's ringed on three sides by either India's own territory or the states that are neutral or partially aligned with India. Although obviously there is an ongoing competition with China for influence in many of the states.
Military experts say the base will eventually host up to a dozen nuclear submarines. India currently only has two. Both are Arahant-class ballistic missile submarines, or SSBM. Aragat can carry 12 ballistic missiles with a range of around 430 miles, or 4 ballistic missiles that can travel beyond 2,000 miles, putting China's naval base in Hainan well within the range. India's third SSBM should be ready in 2025, but India still lags far behind China, which already has 12 nuclear submarines.
India doubtless would like to change this balance in the future. That being said, comparing number of like-for-like platforms is not necessarily the best way to look at a military balance, because geography and mission determines which platforms are most relevant. The question is not simply how many submarines of each type of country operates. It is also one of reach, because obviously operating closer to the Indian shores, many of the Indians' diesel-electric submarines are within operating range, where they can be pretty effective against the Chinese attack submarines.
China's foreign ministry said Beijing's cooperation in the region is not targeted at any third party.
Even if Chinese engagement does not necessarily represent a military threat in that sense that it can enable PLA Navy to fight in the region, what it can enable and why the Indian government and Navy are prohibited by it, it is because it can enable a more sustained presence in the region. That can set the precondition for China to eventually be a much more credible military player in the Indian Ocean than it is today.
The expansion of India's nuclear submarine project comes as Beijing and New Delhi agree to de-escalate another area of tension on the Himalayan border. But their competition in the Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal remains a source of potential conflict.